Hi everyone, this is Killshot from 99 Gaming. This is The Walking Dead Season 10, Episode 6, Early Spoiler Special. We are going to talk about this week's episode, so I do have to warn everybody in advance. Be ready. We're going to unleash everything that's going to happen. So if you're not here for spoilers, you do want to turn away as quick as possible. Before we get into tonight's stream, I do want to give a special shout out to the Patreon Army. You can see them up on the screen. Thank you for everything that you guys do. This will be a little bit shorter stream than normal. This week's content is, I'm not going to say it's filler, but it's probably not going to give you guys that strong 10 vibe that we've had over and over again. So thank you so much. Appreciate all the well wishes. You guys can probably tell I am a little bit under the weather. So I am going to stick this out, and I'm here for you guys. So we're going to do it. Thank you, Christmas Girl. I'm about 60%. So 60% I think is good enough to get this thing up and rolling. How are you guys doing? That's a better question. Hopefully you guys are having a good time. Everybody ready for a little bit of spoiler information? Now, let me tell you guys, this is not my information. This is from Spoiling Dead's fan page. It's out there. I just like to put my own individual spin on their Q&A and their content. So, by reading their summary, and I want you guys to check out, this is, like I said, this isn't going to be a super long video. I'm going to say this episode, if I looked at the summary, is going to rely on the acting and the ability much more than the storyline. That's not always a bad thing, but when I read it, I'm giving it an 8 based on what I read. Now, don't hate me yet. I'll go through the Q&A, and then you guys, once we get to the end of it, you can give me your thoughts on the summary. So the first question is, in the opening minutes, it has Carol has a plan. So Carol wants to go out and destroy the Horde. So she is going to tell Daryl, there's like 3 storylines. There's the Negan storyline, then there's the thing with Eugene, and then there's the Daryl and Carol. So a lot of this is Daryl and Carol wanting to go out and do some things by herself. And I think that's why it frustrated me a little bit, but bear with me. So she tells Daryl she's kept track of the waves of walkers. So we saw her like with that notepad, right? A couple episodes ago, I think it was at the end of 4, and she looked like she was looking out, keeping notes. So she's been tracking the waves. She thinks that there's a spot where the Whispers are like rallying them all up. It's like cattle. So she's getting all the herd together, or the Whispers are getting all the herd together, and then they're just releasing them. So Daryl's pretty adamant, like, look, hey, I don't care what your plan is. We ain't crossing the border. So Daryl, doesn't want to cross the border. He's very, he doesn't want to defy Alpha. So she swears that her only intention is to, see where they're coming from and not make any waves. But that's later on. See, what's weird about this, and the Q&A is a little bit out of order. Before she even got to that point with Daryl, she lied to Daryl and said she wanted to go out and find Negan. Gushy, thank you so much for that super chat. I'm going strong, man. I am going strong. I do have to ask you guys. I know a lot of you guys, and I appreciate that. I know a lot of you guys are here for the spoilers, but I'm legging it out. So I'm going to ask you guys to do me a favor. If I can suck it up through all this bad weather, through all this sickness, then give this video a thumbs up, everybody, because I'm going to lose my voice halfway through it, but we're going to get through it. All right. I'll send smoke signals up for you guys. All right. Question number 2 is kind of, like I said, it's a little bit out of order. What happens during Carol and Daryl's missions is question number 2 from Spoiling Dead's fan page. Carol first lies to Daryl, says she's going to look for Negan. Daryl's like, he wants to tag along. So, what's she going to say? No, you can't. So it gets sneaky because they're up on this high area looking down. And then Daryl finally pieces it together and says, look, Negan ain't that stupid where he's just going to walk by where we can see him, and you're not that stupid. This is what you plan. So he kind of digs down into what is your real intention? What are you really doing here? She says that, Carol's more than willing to cross the border after they see a Whisper. So she does find the convening spot, and then she sees one of the Whispers, and Carol, doesn't this always happen? Carol makes some noise. It's like, some rustling papers or something, and then they're going to look up, and then they go to investigate. So we got a little bit of a problem here because Daryl has to think quick. Daryl's going to, cut a walker open, smear its guts all over him, so we get dirty Daryl in this episode. He's able to survive it. They did have a agreed-upon spot that they were going to meet back if they were separated, and they do get separated. So when Daryl arrives, Carol has one of the Whisperers in custody, and she's got him tied up with some plastic handcuffs. And he asks her if this was planned, and she says, nope, what's done is done. So Carol's going to give him the runaround the whole time. Anyway, they get separated. She takes a Whisperer hostage. So Carol certainly is she's violating Alpha's laws. And who knows? I mean, I guess, let me get your thoughts and opinions. You guys think that Carol should play ball, or do you guys think that Carol should be doing something to get back at him little by little? I know there's Jim like, Carol, no, don't do it. Don't do it. One of the follow-up questions, do Daryl and Carol interact with Negan? No, there is no interaction between, so even though she says she's out there looking for Negan, she doesn't interact. Okay, we're going to move on to the next big question. And once again, if you guys are tuning in late, these are spoilers brought to you courtesy of Spoiling Dead's fan page. This is just my interpretation of those spoilers and my visualization of how this is going to go down. So does Alpha accept Negan into a group? This is going to be the majority of the episode, everybody. And this is why I said, when you guys hear all these spoilers, I do think you're going to feel it's a little bit of a filler episode, because they have to go through the motions and show the Whisperer initiation. So we were right on this 2 weeks ago. You guys remember we first saw the sneak peek pictures of the Whisperer cutting the other Whisperers and the mask in the background. We said, they're preparing for some type of initiation. This is what Alpha does when they bring on new people. And I think we even did a video called Alpha's New Recruits. So it says they make Negan dig holes, skinwalkers, kill a pig buried in the cooking pit, and walk around among the walkers. That's about it. So it seems like it's Beta is the one that's initiating all the tests, but of course it's at Alpha's direction. Beta does have some reservations about Negan and wants Alpha to, wants Alpha to have him killed, and says that Negan is weak and he'd be stronger if he was undead. So he must not know Negan very well. Shannon M. super chat. What's up, Shannon? Carol has her own agenda. She has no care. Shannon, I think it's a great point. The question I have is, when is Ezekiel going to get Carol's agenda? Because I think the king needs that same. It's a little disheartening to me to see Carol wanting to get revenge for Henry and Ezekiel just kind of sitting back to die. And I do think that's going to be a big storyline in the next couple episodes. Not this episode, but I think by episode 7, we're going to start to see some more story with the king. Fluff the Flamethrower. Daryl is mad at Carol. Daryl's mad because Carol's giving a friendship bracelet to someone else besides him. Fluff. Well, hold that thought, Fluff, because there is some Daryl-Carol interaction. And I would say, even though I know you're being a little silly with this, she's not. Because one of the Q&As is that Carol really wants to push Daryl toward Connie. So we'll get to that. Let me skip ahead. Stealing my thunder here, Fluff. So this is some of the extras. So I am going to skip ahead a little bit further. So Carol asks Daryl about Connie and tells him that she sees things. When Daryl tells her, no, it's not like that, she kind of encourages him by saying that there aren't many people around anymore, much less good ones like her, and that he can't hide forever with his dog. Interesting. So Fluff, no jealousy. In fact, Carol probably wants Daryl to give a friendship bracelet to Connie. So the next question that comes up is, how is Negan accepting Whisperer life? At the very end of the episode, it does look like he's accepted. And you guys know it's going to be a little bit tough because being a whisperer, you can't really talk a whole lot, and Negan loves to talk. So I think that's going to be a challenge. But he does crack some jokes. This episode is going to be a lot about Negan. As I said, it's going to be Jeffrey Dean Morgan's acting is what's going to carry it in my mind to that 8. Otherwise, if he wasn't classic Negan, I think it would have been a 5 or a 6. Just saying, and I know that's like blasphemy with Angela Kang directing and running the show now, not directing, but being over the show. I think the content of this potentially could have been one of the weaker episodes, but Jeffrey Dean Morgan is going to be classic, and you guys are going to love it. He does say that he cracks jokes about their paleo lifestyle. He calls Beta the Jolly Green Giant, taunts him for kneeling in front of Alpha. So there's several things that they didn't get into the full episode, but it is going to have a lot of Negan one-liners. So be ready for that. Eugene and the radio. This is an important aspect. Very different storyline. We got Christmas Girl. What if Negan talks about Lydia in their camp? Christmas Girl, I didn't get any indication that he did. I don't think there's a lot of talking that's going on, like casual conversation. And if he were to, Beta will kind of shut that down really quickly. One thing about the Whisperers is you don't see them sitting around talking about movies or weather or anything along those lines. It's mostly talk to survive. And I think he's going to be given a little bit more latitude, but not a lot more latitude. So I don't think that's really detrimental to the storyline. If it was a regular Community, I could see that happening. But I think it's a good point. But I don't feel like that's what's going to unveil it. I think the Gamma story is really going to be the whole Lydia storyline in the future. But it is there. I mean, certainly is there. But you know what? If Negan doesn't talk about a helicopter after 7 years, he's probably not going to talk about Alpha's daughter. Shannon M., I think Negan is going to be acting classic Negan to gain trust over Alpha, but he will definitely be watching, listening, getting a lot of intel. Absolutely. So this week, and what's difficult with the comic storyline, the comics almost serve as a spoiler. So a lot of times we watch a show like this, there's a small percentage of Walking Dead fans who don't watch spoiler videos, who don't watch YouTube channels, who don't know the comics, and they just turn on the TV Sunday, they watch, and then they turn it off. So for that group of fans, they're going to be the people that are like, oh my God, Negan turned on the group. And you can't really fault them for that because they don't dig down into the psychology and the storyline the same way we do. And it's always going to be a challenge for the writers of Walking Dead to shock people without giving too much information away. So for us, we know that, like Shannon said, we know that Negan is going to have to work his way in. So we're already a step ahead of most. We know almost everything that he's doing is a front. Now, what would be a bigger shock to us is if Negan actually turned into a whisperer, right? So we don't think that's ever going to happen, but it would be the only way to shock us is to go completely opposite of what the comic did and what the stories that are out there. So if Negan were to kill somebody or he were to do something to have to test his loyalty, I think that would create a very rough situation. What if Negan had to do one of the beheadings, for example? If Alpha's going to mark the next border, and we said, if she did that to Siddiq and we don't know that for sure, why not have Negan, that be his initiation instead of just digging holes in the ground? That would certainly test where he stands, I think, really, really quickly. So, Eugene and the radio. So Eugene is talking to a female on the radio, and he does tell her his name. She says she's not comfortable giving out any real information. Eugene's getting catfished. So it ends with Eugene telling her that he would like to talk on the regular. The woman accepts, but she wants him to assure that it'll stay between them. No one else will know for the time being. And that's how she'll know that she can trust him. So we don't know who we don't know who Eugene is talking to. Comic spoilers know who they think Eugene is talking to. But certainly there's some back and forth going on. So we got that internet love affair. This is the Walking Dead's version of the internet. Eugene's got his own private chat room. But more to come on that. And that's gonna be a big deal. I think that's our season 11 storyline, is the next group, the Commonwealth. All right, so Siddiq. Here's a big mystery. What mystery is Siddiq working on? A lot more people are getting sick. 7. And they seem to be taking a turn for the worse really quickly. You guys think that it's the water? People are getting sick really fast, and it is happening super fast. You think it's the water, or do you think that there's something additional that we've not talked about? Maybe another person poisoning their food or something along those lines. I think it's the water. I think the water is the storyline, and yeah, you should be boiling that water. 7 people are sick. Movie star says radiation. Good point. Got people dying from the radiation. We got people dying from the water. Could it be the food? I think it's the water. One of the questions is, does Siddiq tell anyone about Ezekiel's cancer? No. That would be a HIPAA violation. So doctor-patient confidentiality, everybody. He can't go around telling everybody. He's bound by HIPAA. No, he doesn't tell anybody about Ezekiel. So this is a big question that they ask. Is there anything else that happens in the other communities besides the Carol, Daryl, and Negan in the woods? So that's basically the whole show, with the exception of 1 or 2 more small things. It says there is a nice non-awkward conversation between Eugene and Rosita, where Rosita calls Eugene on the radio. So Eugene's got Stephanie on one side. Now he's getting his Mac on internet style with Rosita. So apparently they've agreed to be somewhat friends. We got Ben Stevenson. Agree, but no way they're drinking creek water. Well, I mean, they could be, I don't know what all could cause that. I mean, I'm sure washing their clothes, they're using the water for something. And I don't think they would be using creek water without boiling. I don't know. Bathing in it. It just seems that what Gamma was doing and then the timing of it seems like a kind of a big story. But maybe boiling it, filtering it, who knows? Maybe I'm not a water expert, but I will do some research before our next stream and see about the whole filtration process. Watering crops, yeah, I mean, I guess there's a lot of different usage for the water. Let's see here. There is also a very interesting, Dante is taking care of all the sick patients. So Siddiq is having flashbacks, we know that. But Siddiq takes Rosita to the infirmary and sees a lot of patients there and gets upset at Dante for not saying something about it. Dante does apologize and has another one of his flirty conversations with an elderly patient named Cheryl. Cheryl's she shed. So Dante flirts with everybody, but apparently flirts with someone quite older than him, just Dante being Dante. Ben Stevenson is actually in water treatment and plumbing. There you go, Ben. Using some real life bye, Sean Thomas. Seriously. Anybody that ever comes in a stream and types like an annoying spam of line after line after line after line will probably never be in another stream. What are you, like 12? That's my favorite Walking Dead line. So Ben Stevenson, give us some real world experience and knowledge there. Well, hopefully the writers tapped into that real world knowledge before they did the storyline. Shannon M., could the illness be faked out to catch the mole? I mean, I guess I would have a hard time, Shannon, following that. I mean, having 6 or 7 people play along to see if I think for us that would work, Shannon, but for the community of Alexandria, I don't know if they think that there's a mole. That would be my only problem with that. Because I haven't heard them really, you get together and say, hey, you know, something's going on and we know somebody's behind it. I think that's more of us sort of overseeing it, if that makes sense. And until I see, you know, more interaction between the group thinking that there's some shady business going along, yeah, let me process that a little more, because you're getting deep into the psychology. That's a whole different level. You know how you got Gamma and Aaron and who's on what side, who's on the other side? If we get to the point where the Alexandrians are faking sickness to see who might be getting them sick, that I would certainly follow with the storyline, but it might be deeper than even the writers have thought about yet. Let's see. Follow-up question that they had is Gamma and anything with Gamma. Gamma is not in this episode, by the way. So nothing with Gamma this week. We'll have to wait a week to find out what her and Aaron have going on. So one of the questions was Ryan Hurst had mentioned there were some very funny moments between Negan and Beta. Yes, there are a lot of interactions between the two of them. As I said before, he calls him Jolly Green Giant. And he does have that one scene where he puts the blades against his neck. Apparently, he does not call him Frowny McTwo-Knives, but that could be in the future from the comics if Beta keeps showing those 2 knives. But I think the funny scene of the week is going to be, let me be, how can I do this? All right, I'm not going to go out there and say it. Beta is a really tall man. Negan, not quite as tall. So there may be some male anatomy innuendos between the two, if you guys follow me. And it is going to be done in the form of skinning masks. So apparently Beta skins a mask and hangs it up, and it is a really big mask. And Negan skins his own, and it is a slightly smaller mask. And there's kind of music playing in the background where there's a competition. And apparently Negan extends the size of his mask to make it look a little bit bigger. So anyway, you guys get the gist of it. But that's going to be kind of one of the scenes. Classic Negan, but there's a lot of funny interactions. I'll move on, but you can kind of, we'll save the rest of the sequence so you guys can have some fun with that. We don't learn who released Negan. No other shocks or surprises, so I think that's probably going to be a little disappointing to some, like no major twist or curse. I do think there's going to be one, even though they didn't identify one. I'll tell you guys about it in a minute. Does anyone die? That's the big news. Nobody dies. No major deaths. We're already in episode 6, just walkers. And here's a few of the other interesting tidbits. So Daryl is serving as a mediator. Daryl does tell Carol the king sends his best, which he did not. So it looks like Daryl's just trying to... There's a lot of like matchmaking going on, right? Daryl wants to see where Carol stands with Ezekiel, but then Carol says something about Connie. Now let's backtrack a little bit. So at that one scene where they were up on the hill, Carol went to pee and left her purse behind. or her bag behind. Daryl went through her purse, and when she came back, she kind of saw it disheveled and said, "Did you find what you were looking for?" And he basically said that he asked if she brought her gun, and she said, "No, she's out of ammo." But we find out that the handcuffs that she used to the plastic handcuffs were not in her purse. So I guess she was hiding those. I don't think that's big news, but they weren't initially in the purse. This is kind of big news. And I think it's directly from the comic as well. There's a moment where Beta tells Alpha that she should kill Negan, and Alpha tells him that he's been questioning her judgment on a regular basis. She asks if it's finally time for Beta to become the Alpha, and this is where the kneeling happens, and Beta's answer is never. So Beta shows his loyalty. I mean, Alpha thinks at some point Beta might want to take over, might want to take the reins. And at this point, and I guess that's also where Negan might mock Beta later on for kneeling, showing that, who's weak now, that type of thing. And I agree. So this was kind of in the taglines, and I fully agree with Spoiling Dead's fan page. The most interesting thing that happens with Siddiq. So check this out. This is going to tie back in to our flashbacks. What did Siddiq experience? So after they finish at the infirmary, Rosita's sleeping. Siddiq picks up Coco and sits on a chair. He closes his eyes and starts hearing Alpha's distorted voice saying, "Open your eyes." I can't do it. Sorry, it's my raspy voice. She says, "Open your eyes" a few times, kind of like a cross between Alpha and Vanilla Sky, I guess. Open your eyes a few times, and when he finally does open his eyes, he finds himself up on what looks like a balcony of the mill, but he's outside and on some balcony, terrified. The scene is short, so I'm 100% sure that it's a blackout. So this might be the part where we find, maybe in 7, we're going to see Rosita crying. So Rosita's asleep, and it looks like he picks up Coco. He closes his eyes, and the next thing you know, he's standing out ready to jump off the top of a balcony. So it looks like he might be ready to kill himself. The question is what happens to Coco, and more than likely, Rosita picks up Coco, and that's where we're going to see. He does not apparently have Coco in his arms, so maybe he just set her down or he left her unwatched. So I think that's where Rosita's going to freak out, like you're putting Coco in danger. Big Kev, I'm loving seeing season 10. I hope Negan does his comic arc to Alpha. Much love from San Diego. What is up? Thank you so much. Appreciate you, Big Kev from San Diego. Hopefully you're going to be rocking Comic-Con next year. Good to see you back in the streams. So I know we predicted hypnosis and a couple other things, and that could still happen. But I kind of got that strong feeling that Rosita crying scene, that would be the perfect opportunity, right? I mean, Siddiq's holding the baby. Rosita's trying to get some sleep. He finally dozes off. More flashbacks of Alpha. And next thing you know, he's sleepwalking, and Rosita's freaking out. There you go. All right. Fair enough, Ben. Ben says that the spoilers did confirm he was holding Coco later in the comic. All right. So that's new information to me. So if he's up on a balcony holding the baby, wow. Then sleepwalking, he can't be around Coco, right? Yeah, that's big. I mean, imagine if he slipped or jumped off that balcony. So then there you go. Rosita gets him off the balcony, gets the baby, and then, yeah, scared to death. So that would follow suit. And the big news, how does the episode end? So Negan, Beta, and the Whisperers come back to their camp. Apparently they kill a pig. Negan wants some. Beta doesn't want to let him eat. Says he can't eat. And Negan insists. So they get in a little bit of a skirmish. Beta pushes him to the ground. Negan looks a little pissed, like he's going to do something, but he stands down. he sits next to another whisperer who offers him a piece of his food. And there are a couple other scenes, and the actual scene, Alpha asks Beta about Negan. While he's busy telling her that Negan is weak, Negan comes over with Lucille in his hand, being very loud as usual, and says he's ready for a skin suit, and he needs an extra large pouch on account of his humongous balls. so I need a big whisperer suit because I have big balls. And he then puts Lucille down in front of Alpha, kneels before her, and says, whatever you want, whatever I got, it's yours. Alpha gets in his face, smells him, and says, shh. And that is where the episode ends, everybody. So I'm going to ask you guys, based on the spoilers, give me a score, everybody. You guys know what's going on. From a 1 to a 10, I'm going to stay, honestly, with a solid 8. Because I think it is going to drag a little bit at times. And I certainly think the Negan scenes are going to keep it afloat. Seeing some 9s. But I feel like because we raised the bar so high the last couple weeks, and let me tell you, the last couple weeks have been absolutely incredible. It sounds good to me, but every week I don't think we're going to keep raising the bar week after week after week. I think it's good. I think it tells a decent story, but it also drags us down a little bit more, and it relies on Jeffrey Dean Morgan really nailing it home. Just my thoughts. So last week absolutely was amazing. Want to let you guys know, schedule the rest of the week. I am still extremely under the weather. Hopefully you guys can tell. I've been struggling a little bit through this. I do a lot of talking, so it's a struggle. We will have no streams tomorrow night. Normally we do Freestyle Friday on Friday night, and we do Play Dead Live. You guys are participating in Play Dead Live. I will say, not this Friday, but next Friday, you guys are going to want to be here. We got a great Play Dead Live scenario. I was hoping to have it for this week, but just stay tuned. Hold tight for a week. We're going to have a lot of fun with it next week. We will be back Saturday morning at 11 a.m. So Saturday morning at 11, once everybody's watched it on AMC Premiere, we're going to do our extended spoiler on Saturday morning, and then we will be doing our reactions Sunday night. And then next week we will be back to doing all of our double shots. So I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Special shout out to the Patreons. Thank you so much for all your support. Play Dead Live sponsors, thank you. The Green Team, you guys are amazing. Super Chatters, moderators, Emmy, Steph, Tommy, Kels. And the biggest shout out I want to do for each and every one of you. Number 1, for everybody in these streams that show up, thank you so much. Give this video a thumbs up. Number 2, for the people on our Facebook fan page and the people that sent me personal messages. I didn't get to respond to everybody, but I do want to respond to all of you. Thank you. And when you're under the weather and you got literally thousands of people sending you messages saying, get well, it definitely means a lot. So I appreciate all of your support, and I look forward to seeing all of you guys, hopefully Saturday morning, 11 o'clock. Have a good evening, and enjoy tomorrow off. Get your good theories ready, because we're going to need them on Saturday and Sunday. Have a good night, everybody. Peace.